Hello, and welcome to another episode of GetAGoodStart.com's podcast. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at GetAGoodStart. Before we begin, I just want to remind you to go to GetAGoodStart.com to read the accompanying blog to this podcast episode. It contains additional information about our guest and follow-up action items you can take to get a good start. Welcome, everyone, to the Get a Good Start podcast. I'm your host, Scott Agnoli, and I'd like to introduce to you today Kevin Cummings. He's a husband, he's a father, he's a coach, he's been a collegiate basketball player, he's been a senior partner at a top CPA firm. He is currently the CEO and chairman of Investors Bank. He is a mentor of mine, and I'm proud to call him my friend, Kevin Cummings. Kevin, welcome to the show.
Good morning, Scott, and it's good to be here. And I appreciate the introduction.
Yeah. Kevin, this podcast seeks to provide information, advice, and perspectives from people who have had the experience in the business world to students and new employees to the corporate world on how they could get a good start, right? Get a good start in their career, in their day, in their life. When you think about that phrase, get a good start, how do you define it?
I define a good start by getting up every day and making your bed. A good start is is getting up in the morning and planning your day and having a plan. A good start is maybe exercising in the morning. A good start is having a balance in your life, spiritual, setting aside time, to pray, intellectual, reading a good book. And I mean, and we're not talking about a big commitment of time either. 20 minutes, 45 minutes with a book, calling an old friend, the emotional part, family, brothers, sisters that you haven't seen in a while. And then finally the physical, the spiritual, the intellectual, and the emotional. Having that balance in your life is having a good start, and being focused, not being selfish. The longest journey in life is from here in the head to here in your heart, but it's also going from a selfish child to an unselfish adult. And by doing those things, it's being selfless in your life that you really make a difference, but you really feel that you're making progress in your life.
Part of the mission here, Kevin, is to provide students with, those life experiences from people who have done it before. And, I want to give them information, things they cannot learn about in books. I want to help them, through their career and not have to make the mistakes we made. I think as a father, I look back and say, what are the things I could do for my son so he doesn't make the same mistakes I made? In your experience, and you've been a leader, you've been a coach, you've been all these things where you've experienced people doing significant things. What are things you have seen in your career that make you sit up and take notice about those frontline employees you see occasionally, you remark about to their managers and say, hey, the next time opportunity comes up, I think Dawn in accounting really needs a chance, or I think this could be our next great leader?
Well, two things when you were talking about you know advising your son. I remember, and my father was a Jersey City policeman, an iron worker, and he used to say to me when we were going out on a Friday night, "Don't be a jerk." And I think what he's saying is, don't be selfish, and relate that to a frontline employee, someone who's just started out in the world. I think I would say to them is be a good teammate. I think the goal of the first, like when I was at KPMG and I was starting out in the world, you can't worry about the next promotion. You have to worry about where you are in the moment. You got to live in the moment. Don't look at the next job. Have a goal for the next job, but how can I do what the task at hand and do it to the best of my ability? Secondly, I want to be better tomorrow. I want to be better today than I was yesterday. That journey of continuous improvement. If I see someone that's hungry and wants to continuously learn, that impresses me. So being a good teammate, striving for improvement and getting better every day. The other one is, are they a good listener? I think you have to be a good listener, be a continuous learner, and listen to learn. And then the other thing that served me well when I was coming up through the ranks at KPMG It's a 12-year track to be a partner, is, I want to make my direct report his life easier. What I don't want to, show him up. I am his subordinate, but how can I make his strive to make his life easier? To do his job, even though I'm getting paid, 30% less. So here it is, when I can work hard and show that I'm doing, like when I was a senior manager or a manager in the accounting firm, and I was doing the job of a partner, handling all the client issues and making his life easier, you know, that's how you succeed, because that's how you build a ground base, and that's how people look to mentor you. You have to, when you're coming through, a career, you just can't wait around. You have to find a mentor. You have to reach out and find someone that you respect. And that's on you. That's on the day one employee starting out in his career. So you have to make that effort, to find a mentor. When I was at KPMG, I used to get in early every, day, and the four corner offices, I used to see who was in. The tax partner, the consulting partner, one of the SEC partners, the lead, technical partners. And occasionally I would sneak in before the day got busy and just say hello. One, brown nose it, they knew I was in early. But two, maybe we talk about a client issue. And you get people before their day starts, they're not crazy busy, and you're not sticking your head in there and saying, oh, what do you want now?
Right.
It's almost like, hey, how you doing? You get that type of response. So you got to pick your spots. You got to, move forward and think ahead and see where the, I mean, don't play the politics, but politics are a big part of things, and creating relationships. Be thoughtful in your career planning.
Kevin, that is a perfect segue. You said the word relationship. And, knowing that to advance in life and in your career and make a significant life of it, you need to build relationships, right? You need to get people to trust and like you, right? Because no one's going to listen to you. And when I coach students and we talk about relationship building, one of the things that comes up consistently is caring for others to build trust, caring for others to build relationships, which leads me to one of your favorite phrases, right? No one cares how much you know until you show them how much you care. And if we think about that phrase, how have you seen demonstrated in the physical corporate environment? How have you seen people caring for other people? What are some good examples you can point to?
Well, Scott, you and I worked together, and we created the values and the logo and all the good things that this company stands for, the whole branding effort. And it all resonates, and I'm sitting there, it all resonates with you and what we started back in 2011. And it's clearly, your foundation and your workmanship that created, what this brand is today. So when I was thinking about it, I was thinking about the sign out in our lobby. I want to thank the good Lord for making me an Investors Bank employee. We stole it from Joe DiMaggio in 1941. So when you think of that, when someone like the men's room is right there, right? So when I'm walking to the men's room, I see someone waiting for someone downstairs in commercial lending or HR, waiting to come up to meet the person. I always ask them, can I get you a cup of coffee? Do you need anything? And that type of attitude and what we've created here, you've done that, I've done that, everyone has done that. Well, other people started to do. I've had executives from other companies, customers, come in here and says, boy, that's some sign you have there. And by the way, and I had two or three employees come up to me and ask me if I needed anything.
Hmm.
And that whole attitude of that whole caring, that whole selflessness of what we've created here is really a big part of your legacy. And hopefully, as our company continues to get bigger, will be a part of my legacy also.
Building that, going through that exercise of building that has done a lot for me. When you talk about caring and the world we're in now, right? We're in a virtual world. Look, we're talking across a computer right now. People are holding meetings. I can't tell you, my last three clients I've never met them in person. It's all been on the computer. And I have struggled to find some of the ways which I can care for people through the virtual world. Have you seen any people bring some of that caring, like you said? hey, how can I help you in the lobby? But you're not in the lobby. How can people care for one another through the virtual?
It's a difficult one because I get frustrated, with the virtual world. I had to sit on a Federal Home Loan Bank meeting for 4.5 hours. It certainly was very difficult for me to be attentive for 4.5 hours staring at the screen. I can watch TV for 4.5 hours because, but when you're thinking of watching and being part and being a contributor to something over that period of time. Having said that, I don't think the caring aspect changes, whether it's in person or virtual. We have a responsibility. I think of the ATT commercial, reach out and touch someone. Well, that
Mm-hmm.
communication was key during this pandemic, reaching out to people. And what I learned is we have to listen better because you don't see the body language. You don't get the feel in the room. And you
Right.
have to be a better listener to feel, what's that person saying. So yes, it is important, you know, and I think it's incumbent upon the leaders to reach out more to people. So that's
I could.
how you can show that you're caring better.
I think the pandemic has forced us to listen to more people who are in our inner circle more and more intently because you can't get away from them, right? You
Right.
can't get distracted. You can't walk out the door. You can't go here. You can't go there. And so I thought about one of my students asked me, Scott, how do how do you make yourself more unique in the virtual world? And I said, by going back to basics. One of them is, like you said, reach out and touch someone, call someone. Don't go on the video, call them on the phone and talk to them and be a good listener. That was one thing. The other thing is I got printed up a stack of cards, stationary, and I send out note cards to people, which people don't get anymore. And in the virtual sense, I tell my students, listen, if you have a study group with 3 or 4 people virtually, and they all are, it's a good group, send them a card. Tell them thank you. Do something other than send an email. An email anyone could type, you know, but taking the time to write something out, put a stamp on it, and drop it in the mailbox shows caring.
Scott, it's funny you should say that. You know how I used to give out the candy at Christmas time,
Yep.
and people weren't around, so I had them in my conference room. And one of the EVPs called my assistant and said, "Hey, I didn't get it this year." And more importantly, he didn't care about the candy. He wanted the note.
Yep.
And it was here. It was in the conference room. It was done. It was like, but no one was here between Christmas and New Year's. I came in
Right.
every day and just, I came in my sweats, worked out downstairs, walked around the office every day. And I swear to God, it was like a ghost town.
Mm,
But having said that, those little acts of kindness, living in the moment. And that's the problem here. We're always looking to the next job, the next $1 million, the next this. One thing you can tell to your students is live in the moment.
mm,
You never have enough of the stuff that you don't really need. You know, it says in the Bible, where your heart is, is where your goals are. You know what I mean? And is it in the material things or is it into the greater things? And really, and it's hard because we're in this rat race. You want to get ahead. You're a young student. You're in the workplace for the first time. You're on this mad dash. It's a race. I think you should read the book Second Mountain by David Brooks. And he in the book is this first mountain where you gain all the material things and all the things that are important of the material world, and then there's the second mountain, and that's the journey that we talk about from time to time from success, being a partner at KPMG, or moving to the second mountain where you're significant and you make a difference. And his view is the people on the second mountain are happy in their own skin. They're not just running up the rat race trying to get up the hill, but these people on the second mountain are joyful. And it's moving from happiness to joyfulness. And that's where people admire you because they know you're happy in your skin. And on the first mountain, you're always climbing and grabbing and worrying about your neighbor and all that good stuff. And it's the same difference is building resume virtues that build your career, or is it eulogy virtues?
mm.
You know, that they're going to talk about you. No one's going to talk. My kids aren't going to talk about me at my funeral, about what I did here at the bank or what I did at KPMG. They're going to talk about what kind of dad I was, what kind of person I was, what was my character. And those are the important things that we lose sight of in our business careers. So again, it gets back to having that balance. And what I do in the philanthropic space, when I was climbing the ranks and the ladder at KPMG, I just coached basketball with my kids. I wasn't involved in any boards. I was, I had four things to do every day, and the fourth one was my own health and my own emotional friendships and things like that. The third, was trying to stay in shape. The second and first were my career and my business and my family, my career and my family. And sometimes I put my career ahead of my family, much to my dismay.
Hmm.
But these are the things you learn. It starts with your wife and your spouse, and then it's your children.
Kevin, this has been a great. I know everyone who listens to this are going to get a lot out of it. I've been very fortunate because I had many over a decade with you, and shared many of these insights and perspectives with you, and it's out of that relationship with you and people like you know uh, Dennis and interaction with people like Dom and Paul Calamaris, that whole experience of brand building and culture building kind of led me down this path to where I'm helping these students. And it's funny because some of the things we talk about every day are things that are second nature to us at second nature to us at Investors Bank. um, but I can't thank you enough for coming on the show today. It's been great for me to see you and talk to you. Um, I want to remind everyone to go on the blog and look at the action items that they can take away from today's interview. And I look forward to seeing your reaction to the feedback, and I'll forward it to you when I get it about the podcast. But thank you. I couldn't be more honored to have you on my podcast, Kevin.
Well, Scott, you're a good friend, and I appreciate everything you've done. You've helped me on my journey. Our discussions that we've had. I miss you, and you're a great man, a great father, and I'm lucky to have you as a good friend.
Thank you, Kevin.